Today, we're going to learn how to perform quickly and simply a survival analysis according to Kaplan-Meier and how to create some charts with a display or with advanced options like a censorship table below the chart, like this one. And we will even go further and do some survival comparison to compare, in our example, women and men survival, like this, with a statistical test and statistical distributions of both men and women. But first, let's go to our Excel spreadsheet. And this is a very simple spreadsheet in which the first line will correspond to the name of the variables or the name of the columns of the table. And each following line will correspond to one patient. I can have any information in this table, like for example here, the gender, the height, and the weight of my patients. But the three most important information that I will need for the survival analysis are the date of the event here, which is the cardiovascular event. And I have some patients for which I have a date because they had an event, and some patients for which the cell remains empty because they didn't have the event. The other information which is very important is the date of inclusion, which is the date at which we will start the survival analysis, and the last follow-up date, which is the date at which we will stop the survival analysis. And of course, the event must lie between the inclusion and the last follow-up date. So now let's go back to the application. I will get to the home page and click on import here to import my Excel file. It could also be a CSV file. And the first step of my import is to match the identifying information with the columns of my table. So here I have the first name and the last name in clear. And if I match these columns with first name and last name, they will be pseudonymized so we can stay in accordance with the regulation and keep our patients' privacy. What is important for today is the inclusion date and the last consultation date, which have been detected automatically, but I could also change it if it's not the case and click here to check the good date. I click on next step, and the next step is to clean the file if there are any values which are wrong. For this, in this case, pressure was expected to be a numeric value, and I put some text in it. So I will just say, okay, this text is NC, and I will click on make all exceptions NC. And finally, the last step is to give a name to my study and to launch import. Once I've done that, I will have the statistical distribution of my series, which will be displayed here with the demographic of my patients. And if I click on all variables, I will have the distribution for each variable of my table. What is interesting today is cardiovascular event. So I will click on Kaplan-Meier analysis, and what will happen is that there will be the analysis which will be performed automatically, and we will have survival curves which are generated according to the analysis. I can pick the design I prefer for my chart, and I can download it in high resolution, which is 600 dpi. I will have calculators here, which will allow me to have the survivorship, for example, at 20 days with the confidence interval. And I will also have text which are generated and that can be useful for my article. So this is the text I should write in my results section and the text I should write in the method section. We can even go further and do some survival comparison. So I can here compare according to any discrete criteria, which is any variable which is not a numeric variable. So in our example, we want to compare men and women survival. So I will pick gender here, and then I will have a new analysis which is generated with new chart. And I can see here the survival of both women and men on the same chart. And as usual, I can just pick the table I prefer and download it. Automatically, I will have a statistical test which is generated. Here it's a log rank test. And this test will tell me if there is a difference in the survival distribution of men and women and what were their survivals at 3 and 6 months for each of them. We can even go further and do a COGS multivariable analysis, but this will be for our next video.